She held my hand so tightly that day, not because she loved me more, but because she was about to let me go forever. I thought love meant protection. I didn't know love could also mean selling your own child to survive. Before I understood the world, I understood my mother. Her presence was the first language my heart ever learned, and her love felt like something that would never run out. I trusted her the way flowers trust the sun, without question, without fear, believing that her warmth was permanent and her protection eternal. When she looked at me, I felt chosen, as if the universe had placed me exactly where I belonged, inside her care, inside her breath, inside her quiet strength. As a child, my love for her was not built on logic or understanding. It was instinctive, natural, and absolute. I followed her shadow like it was my destiny, believing that wherever she walked, safety followed. Her voice calmed my smallest fears, her touch erased hunger, pain, and loneliness, and her smile was enough to convince me that nothing bad could ever reach me. I never imagined a world where she would not be there to catch me if I fell. She was my entire universe, and I was content living inside it. I measured time by her routines, mornings by her footsteps, nights by the way she tucked me in. Every sacrifice she made felt invisible to me, because love, in my innocence, appeared effortless. I believed her strength had no limits, that her arms could carry any burden, that her heart could shield us both from the cruelty of life. My love for her was pure, untouched by doubt or fear. I never questioned her decisions or wondered about her struggles. To me, she was not a woman fighting the world, but a goddess shaping my reality. I believed she could fix anything simply by holding me closer, whispering my name, promising tomorrow would be better. In her presence, I learned what love meant without words. Love was waiting for me when I woke up, love was sharing silence, love was existing together without needing explanations. I gave her my trust completely, unaware that trust itself was fragile, unaware that love could be tested by circumstances beyond the heart, unaware that even the deepest affection could be forced into impossible choices. The moment of separation arrived quietly, without warning, like a love letter torn apart before it could be read. Nothing in the air felt different, yet everything was already changing. I remember the way my mother avoided my eyes, as if meeting my gaze would undo the decision she had already made. Her silence was heavier than any goodbye, and I felt a strange fear growing in my chest, a fear I didn't yet have words for. She held my hand tighter than usual, not with comfort, but with desperation. Her palm trembled against mine, and I could feel something breaking inside her grip. I mistook that tension for protection, believing she was holding on because she loved me too much to let go. I didn't understand that love was the very reason her fingers would soon loosen. When she knelt in front of me, her face was close to mine, close enough for me to feel her breath shake. She touched my cheeks as if trying to memorize them, tracing my features like a farewell she was afraid to speak. Her lips formed my name again and again, each time softer, each time more fragile, until it felt like she was saying it for the last time. The world around us blurred, but I saw her clearly in that moment, a mother caught between her heart and survival. My mind searched for reassurance, for the familiar promise that she would always come back for me. Instead, there was only the sound of footsteps approaching, voices I didn't recognize, hands that did not feel like home. I looked back at her as I was led away, waiting for her to reach out, to call me back, to choose me over everything else. Our eyes met briefly, and in that glance, I saw love collapsing under the weight of reality. She stood still, not because she didn't want to run to me, but because running would have destroyed what little hope she believed she was giving me. That was the moment my childhood ended, suspended between her outstretched love and the distance growing between us, a single step turning into an endless separation, my heart still reaching for hers as the space between us swallowed everything familiar. As time passed, the memory of that day refused to stay simple. What once felt like betrayal slowly tangled itself with understanding, and love began to wear the face of survival. I started to see my mother not only as the woman who let me go, but as the woman who stood cornered by a world that offered her no mercy. Love, I realized, does not always have gentle choices, sometimes it is forced to choose between two kinds of loss. I imagined her life after me, the silence that must have filled the space where my laughter used to live. I pictured her returning to an empty room, touching the places where I once sat, replaying my voice in her mind just to feel close to me again. The thought that she carried my absence like a wound made my anger soften into something heavier, something closer to sorrow. She did not sell me because her love was weak. She sold me because her love was desperate. Hunger, debt, fear, and exhaustion stood around her like walls closing in, leaving her with choices that were never meant for a mother's heart. In that moment, survival became a twisted form of love, a belief that sacrificing herself emotionally might give me a chance to live beyond the limits she was trapped inside. I began to understand that love can be shaped by cruelty, bent by necessity, and forced into forms that look like abandonment from the outside. Her decision was not a rejection of me, but a surrender to circumstances stronger than both of us. She gave me away while keeping me inside her, carrying my memory as proof that she had loved deeply, even when love demanded something unbearable. The more I thought about her pain, the more my heart struggled between blame and compassion. I wanted to hate her for choosing survival over togetherness, yet I could not erase the image of a mother choosing suffering for herself so her child might escape it. Her love did not disappear when she let go of my hand, it simply transformed into a silent sacrifice that neither of us could ever fully explain. Growing up without her love felt like carrying an unfinished sentence inside my chest. Every stage of my life was shaped by her absence, and yet she was present in every thought, every memory, every quiet moment when the world slowed down. I learned how to smile in front of others while holding a loneliness that never fully faded, a loneliness that spoke in her voice whenever I felt lost. I searched for her in strangers, in the kindness of women who reminded me of her touch, in voices that sounded even slightly familiar. Love became something fragile to me, something I wanted deeply but feared losing. I learned to hold people carefully, as if they might disappear the same way she did, without warning, without explanation. There were nights when her memory felt heavier than the present. I replayed the smallest details of our time together, the way she used to call my name, the rhythm of her breathing when she slept, the warmth of her hand wrapped around mine. These memories became both comfort and torture, reminding me of what I once had and what I could never reclaim. As I grew older, questions replaced innocence. I wondered what my life would have been if she had kept me, if love alone had been enough to defeat poverty and fear. I imagined an alternate world where her arms were still my home, where our love story did not end in separation but in endurance. These imagined lives followed me like shadows, never fully leaving, never allowing closure. Her absence shaped the way I loved others. I loved intensely, afraid of losing, afraid of abandonment, afraid of repeating the past. At the same time, I kept parts of my heart guarded, unsure if love was meant to stay or simply pass through. The child she let go of became an adult still reaching for the warmth that once defined safety, still learning how to exist with a heart that learned loss before it learned stability. Forgiveness did not arrive suddenly, and it did not feel noble or pure. It crept into my heart slowly, carried by exhaustion rather than enlightenment. Holding on to anger required energy I no longer had, and over time, love began to whisper louder than resentment. I realized that forgiving my mother was not about excusing what happened, but about understanding the depth of her suffering and the weight she carried alone. I started to see forgiveness as another form of love, one that asks for empathy instead of answers. I imagined her living with the memory of me as a permanent ache, a regret that never softened with time. The thought that she punished herself more harshly than anyone else ever could made my anger feel small, almost misplaced. In forgiving her, I was not denying my pain. I was allowing it to exist without letting it define me. I learned that love can survive even when trust is broken, that a heart can hold grief and compassion at the same time. My forgiveness was quiet, private, and deeply personal, shaped by the understanding that both of us were victims of circumstances neither of us created. I stopped asking why she did it and started asking how she survived afterward. I wondered how many nights she cried into her pillow, how many mornings she woke up wishing she could turn back time. These thoughts softened my judgment and replaced it with a tenderness I did not expect to feel. Forgiveness did not mean forgetting. It meant choosing to remember her as a mother who loved imperfectly in an unforgiving world. It meant allowing her humanity to exist alongside her mistake. In forgiving her, I reclaimed the love that was lost in separation, not by returning to the past, but by carrying her with me in a way that no longer hurt as sharply.